Hey, 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 welcome to another Valley Forged. Today we're talking about the best Diode Laser 2023. I've been looking at them constantly. I've been testing them constantly. I have several of them, and I figured I should just put this out. So the criteria I'm using for this test is if somebody just dropped the money into my account and said, okay, here's $400. You choose which diode laser you want, and you can use their sites, Amazon, anything you want. And that's what I'm going to use. So if you're into lasers, I've done tons of videos about all kinds of things from business to which is the best laser, what's coming out new. So like, subscribe, and all that kind of thing. So 5-watt laser. I guess, the first thing you got to figure out is, what am I going to use this thing for? Because even if somebody gives you $400 and says, hey, buy a laser, it may not be a good idea for you, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to cut 1/4-inch hardwood, just don't get a 5-watt laser. It's just going to be a pain in the butt, and you're going to end up wasting a lot of wood, in my opinion. But if you're just purely, you've already got stuff cut out, or you're doing 1/8-inch, wood, and you're doing a lot of engraving and it needs to be really fine. Well, then you're probably going to be looking at a 5-watt laser. They do have the best spot. They do incredible work. And I have made so much stuff on my 5-watt laser. In fact, if you go back to my, second video, I bought a Jinsoku Jinmitsu LC40, and it was a fantastic machine. Linear rails, works great, but you can't really get any accessories, no upgrades, and this is really the only reason I wouldn't recommend that as your 5-watt laser. That's why I'm going to recommend as my 5-watt laser the Acer P5, and as it stands here, you got less than $400, and you have the air assist, which I think is a great idea. I'm going to digress for a second because I got to tell you about accessories, right? And that's what, again, the reason why I'm picking this one is because, yes, you can upgrade it, and you can get an extension and all these different things for it. But then you're adding money. And that's one of the things I really want everybody to think about here as you're looking at a diode laser. A lot of these companies are going to try and get you into a laser, which I think is great because these lasers are amazing and there's so much stuff you can do with them. In fact, if you just look at my last video, I made the earrings, the boxes, the cards for the earrings, my business card, everything. There's just so much that you can make with a laser. So I highly recommend everybody, whatever kind of business you're in, it's useful to have a laser, and they're just so much fun, and there's so many things you can do with them. So yeah, in a way, some of these I'm going to show you, they kind of trick you into getting into them. And then you realize, oh, I need to buy this. I need to buy that. But I'm going to let you know ahead of time that you're probably going to want a honeycomb bed unless you're going to make one yourself, right? You're going to want air assist. So this one happens to come with air assist. I think that's a good start. And then look at your honeycomb bed. They're not that expensive for a smaller machine like this, but it is something. I think for my extended bed, I got it from Sculpt Fun, and it was terrible. It's a very cheaply made. But then I have a 2 trees that I got from my K40, and that thing is built like a tank, and I'm super impressed. So, I'm not affiliated with 2 trees, but that really seemed like a really quality bed compared to the other one that I've got. So we'll start out there. We'll say, okay, if you're going to get a 5-watt laser, you're doing a lot of engraving, or you just have a limited budget and you want to get into lasers, this would be a good way to go. I mean, if you're going with something like an Acer, then you can upgrade this later and get a much more powerful machine, and you have a lot of accessories that you can add on. Probably a good entry-level way to go. Now, you can get this for about $300 without the air assist, so if you want to go that way, that's possible as well. They also have, for $60, they have their own honeycomb bed. That might be a very good option for you. Remember, you might need an enclosure. Where are you going to put this? You know, I had my lasers outside, and over the winter, I realized, you know what? These lasers really don't like being outside that much. The heat and then the cold and whatever, you know, is messing with the belts, is what messing with the power. So having this inside and then vented to the outside, pretty ideal. So how are you going to work that? Something to think about. And that kind of answers it on my next option here. If you're going to move up to a 10 watt, now a Louisiana hobby guy has reviewed this, and he also kind of says that a 10 watt laser is a sweet spot. Now, I've also told you I kind of disagree with that. 20 watts seems to be the sweet spot for me because of what I do. And so having something that you can upgrade may be a smart idea if you're not sure. But this machine is just so amazing. I had to list it. I had to put it in here. Even though you can't even get it, it sold out almost immediately. It was like $1,000, which is a lot for a 10 watt, but it has a camera, it has an enclosure, it has linear rails. The thing is built beautifully. And you know, there's so much good to say about this machine that I can't just not put it in. But of course, it's not available. And frankly, it's a little underpowered for me personally. But I could do and have done amazing work on a 10 watt laser. I had the Atom Stack 10 watt laser. You can go back and look at my videos on that. I currently have a Ortur Laser Master 3 with all of the accessories. You know, I went down the whole road with that thing, and I paid for all of it with my own money. But would I get it again? I wouldn't. I think Ortur has the best customer service, and that's probably going to top Acer in that department. But the thing is I needed that customer service way too often. And so for me, at this point, I'm going to recommend the Acer over Ortur, but that may change in the future, because if you can come out with just a really great working product, and also have a great customer service when you need it, that's going to be pretty awesome. And they should be coming out with a 20 watt module here not too long. So we'll be taking a look at that. But as far as the 10 watt goes, I'm going to have to say, if you want accessories and you know that you might upgrade, I would probably go with the Acer or the XTool. But if you know that this has everything you're going to need, then, you know, going with the Rolly may be worth waiting. And I would just go to a Louisiana Hobby Guy's channel, and he'll probably keep you updated on that. Now, you can get the machine just by itself for $650. Doesn't seem like as good a deal to me. Then you've got to buy all the other stuff, and I'm sure it's a super capable machine, and this would, you know, you couldn't go wrong with this. But again, you're not going to have accessories. I don't know when you're going to be able to upgrade it, but I did want to keep that in your wheelhouse to look at. Make, you know, for $650, you can get a Lasermatic 10. Now, for me, if you're going to pay $650, you may want to look at the next step up, which would be the cheapest 20 watt laser engraver. And I happen to have this one. I'm doing all of my business work on this laser right now, and it's doing a fantastic job. I didn't think that this laser was going to be as great as it is. I mean, it looks a lot like the Atom Stack, right? It is not. It was about 10 times easier to put together than the Atom Stack. It worked the very first time I used it. I didn't have to make any adjustments. You know, they gave me a discount code, which you don't have to pay tax or shipping, and it's $800. So $800 for a 20 watt diode laser. This is the best deal out there if you know what you want. Now, there's not going to be upgrades for this, as far as you're not going to get an extension kit for this. It does come with the Air Assist. Now, let's see, that's $800 with the Air Assist. No tax. You know, I know I'm pretty impressed with the deal that you get here for $800. It kind of has what you need. It's cutting, quarter inch in one pass. I don't waste any wood. I can go on about it, but I'm going to recommend this if you're in the $800 range. If you're going to pay $700 for a 10 watt, and we're saying with the air assist, by the way, just pay the extra 100 and get the 20 watt. I'm telling you, you're going to be so much happier. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some people are going to love 10 watts and it's going to work just fine for what they do. It was just such a huge upgrade for me in the amount of things I could do, the amount of wood I was not wasting, the time that I was saving. It was really just night and day for me. And, it's hard. It's hard because, you want to get something that's capable to do everything that you want it to do, but you don't want to spend too much money. And I get that. So that's why I'm kind of making this guide. I'm hoping to just really make you think about what you're trying to get. So the link for this is in the description, but yeah, just try and think of what you're going to use it for. And hey, are you going to want accessories? Are you going to want to be able to upgrade? Because if so, I would caution you to probably get the Acer P20. Now we're looking at $1,000. So that's $200 more than the longer. So if you have $200 more, is it worth it to get the Acer? I totally think so. Reason really being is the upgradability. Acer has a 35 watt diode that you can put on this. It also has, extensions and all kinds of other accessories that you can't get for the longer. Now, I agree there's not that many, but this is also probably a bit more quality machine. The reason why I say so is, Louisiana hobby guy, Rich, and also the Clack Shack. Now you can see over here at the Clack Shack, he has a bunch of 20 watt lasers, yet he took the Acer and he built his own enclosure for it. This is the main machine he seems to be working on. He put a camera in here, and that's a lot to do for a laser if you're not that impressed with it, if it's not going to be your main go-to. And due to the recommendations from these other channels that I trust, I just think that the Acer P20 is just a wonderful machine. And if I had $1,000 and it was like, here's $1,000, you have to buy a diode laser, this is the one that I would buy. And some of you out there might be saying, well, what about the XTool? The XTool is a good option. And if you are thinking, hey, I want to get the XTool, I don't think you're going to go wrong there, and you're going to be able to make so much stuff. And they have a lot of accessories. Right now, you're looking at a little over $1,100. So that's really one of the reasons why I suggested the Acer over the XTool. Now, I'm not sponsored by Acer. This is, or XTool for that matter. Just looking at the two, and this one's about $100 and some more. I really just had to go with the Acer. I think they're very equivalent machines, but the P35, the 35 watt Acer, seems to be a better dot size than the 40 watt XTool, and it's a lot cheaper. So I thought, with upgradability and what I would do with it, if I had the $1,000 or even $1,100, I would still probably go with the Acer. And we're talking about what's going on right now. Things will change over time. Prices will change. Newcomers will come in. There may be better things to buy for this amount of money, in 6 months. But as it is today, these are the choices I would make. But again, I don't think you can go wrong with the XTool. It seems like a very capable machine and people love them. So we're talking about $1,000, $1,100 range. That's what you're going to get. Extremely capable. The amount of things that you can do, as I said before, just go up so much when you just spend a little bit more money here. Now the dot size is going to go up as well, so your engraving isn't going to be quite as fine. Now, I haven't really noticed the difference with my longer Ray 5. The kerf, and that's the amount that gets cut out by the laser, is so fine that I sometimes think it didn't cut it out, because when you try and pry it out, it's literally so tight in there. It's like a puzzle piece. And I've never had a laser that did it so well. And that feels good. But then when I pull it, it cut it out cleanly. It cut it out perfectly. But when you're putting things, when you're cutting things out and then putting them back together, say inlays or things like that, having a small dot size and a small kerf is really useful. And so that's something to think about. And you may start losing it when you get up to 35, 40 watt diodes. And you're spending a ton more money. So next we're going to get on to the Acer V35 Plus. Now we're getting up to 35 watt diodes. It is amazing that it's happened so quickly that we got up to 35, 40 watts for diode lasers. Where is this headed? Where's it going to go? Now, one thought is that it might stall for a while, because you see right here, I got 0.6 at 0.1 millimeter spot. Well, I usually run things as 0.1 millimeter as it is. So that's okay for me, but it might not be for you. For doing very intricate, delicate work, for the majority of you, I don't think you're going to notice at all when it gets up to anything 0.1 millimeter and below. But the 40 watt XTool is 1.5, I believe. And so you are getting quite a bit, actually, 0.15. It is getting noticeable, and they're recommending that you also have, say, a 5 or a 10 watt to go with it that you change out when you're doing engraving. Now, I don't know about you, but that's just not going to happen for me. So that's why for the top end of the diode lasers, I am going to pick the Acer V35. It's currently $1,250 if you go to the Acer site. You cannot get this one from Amazon as far as I can tell. And I haven't seen a lot of people test this one. And since there's really only two choices, I'm picking the Acer over the XTool. And one of the other reasons why I pick Acer over XTool is there is some proprietary software there for the XTool. Now, this runs completely off of Lightburn here, and you can make any changes in the system that you want to. Many people don't realize that with the XTool, it is hard to make changes to some of the system. It's more in-depth things, but those are things most people will never have to deal with. So is it a negative? Yeah, just a slight negative, but it's really not that big a deal for the majority of people out there. You can check with Rich, Louisiana hobby guy. He's talked more about this in live videos and things. But that's for the people who are really going to get, in depth into the software and how things work on their laser. Again, not useful for the majority of the people. So you really just kind of got to go and do your research and, which company do you feel most comfortable with? I mean, there are things about both companies that a little bit drive me crazy. You see here where it says P20 120 watt laser cutter, when we know, the output is actually 20 to 24 watts. This sort of thing drives me crazy. And with the XTool, everything is an XTool commercial. It gets a little bit repetitive and, kind of turns me off a little bit. But as far as the actual working of both machines, I've heard great things about both. So I really don't think you can go wrong either way. You just do what you feel is right. The most important thing is just getting a laser and start working, because they're just the greatest thing ever made, in my opinion. The first time I ever got on a laser, it was a 150 watt diode laser. 150 watt CO2 laser. And I just fell instantly in love, and that's what I've been doing ever since. So what would I say? What happens next? Say, all right, $1,250. You can use this. You can do a pretty good small business with it. But say you want to upgrade from there. What do? Well, as far as diode lasers are concerned, that's it. You're done. And they're plenty capable. They could do a lot for you. But to jump up above that, you're probably going to get into CO2. That's really all you got for now. I mean, who would have thought that we would be already talking about 40-watt diode lasers, a year ago? No way we were thinking that. A 60-watt CO2 laser is kind of your next step up. But the reason why I wanted to bring it up, because when you buy all the accessories and everything that you're going to want for, say, a 35-watt laser, diode laser, you're going to probably end up close to the $2,000 range. Well, what I want you to do is start thinking, wait, is that worth it for me? Or should I just jump up into getting a CO2 laser? And that's more than just saying, oh, well, I have more money, I'm just going to buy the bigger laser. No, you need to learn more about CO2 lasers. I have talked about this in the past, but and you can go look at my diode versus CO2 laser to learn more about that. But just the basics, there's a lot more to it when you buy a $2,500, say, Ohm Tech, right? Now, but you're getting a large working area, 16 by 24, and you can literally upgrade a CO2 laser to 150 watts right here with this same box. So the most important thing you're getting when you get a CO2 laser to think about is your bed size, because that's never going to change. But you will see how quickly the prices go up when you get a bigger bed size. Also, it's a much bigger box. How are you going to get it into the house? How are you going to get it in the garage? So many other things you need to think about when you jump up to a big machine like this. But you can run a full-time business on these larger CO2 lasers. The other option, of course, you've heard of the Gwiki Cloud and Polar Pro and these other desktop lasers. XTool's getting ready to come out with one. I've done a couple videos on that. Glowforge, of course. That is another way to go. It's a desktop laser. It's all in one. It's done, as low as really about $3,000. So that's kind of a next step up, but it already has a lot of the things that you'd be buying for your diode laser. So when you add up everything that you want for your diode, kind of just pit it against what you'd be getting for a laser like this, and just make sure you make the best decision you possibly can. So these are kind of my thoughts. There is so much more to this. Obviously, I'm only scratching the surface. This is kind of a thumbnail sketch, a bird's eye view of what's going on and what I would do if I had this amount of money and to do it over again. It did seem like I kind of concentrated on the Acer quite a bit. It's just because I think that they are the top of the line right now as far as diode lasers go. But there are so many great options out there, and you probably can't go wrong with just about any of them. So I'm not here, dissing on all the other manufacturers. I mean, they're doing a good job, and the main thing is just to get lasering, right? So I will be continuing to stay on this, and I'm sure things will change quite a bit in the next 6 months or so, definitely before Christmas, and we'll have to get back into it. So I will see you all in the next one. Let me know if you have any questions, thoughts, whatever. Like, subscribe, and see you soon.